Shut up and sit down. Shut up and sit down. Shut up and sit down.
Oh, picked up a couple more subscribers.
Hello and good evening and welcome to another episode of Build Paint Play. I do need to somehow learn to do the countdowns as we're coming
That's
in,
all good.
like 5, 4, 3. But yes, we did pick up a few more subscribers, which is pretty cool. We're up over 250. Hooray!
Yay! Great success.
Only another 17 years of this and we can monetize it.
That'd be great. I can't wait. Looking forward to it.
Hooray, advertising. But yes, excellent. I think we're all good and running now. Fingers crossed. So if we are, please let us know in the chat. In the chat we've got Josh saying, new additions you say? Rending of garments, weeping and the gnashing of teeth. Also bourbon and Häagen-Dazs.
I mean, all good things.
Yeah. Yep. Jim says, I haven't really gotten any real games in during 9th edition to be really affected by it. Aaron says, cheers, loves. Cheers. Walkabout Games says, hello all. Hello. Walkabout Games. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Let us know if you can hear us. I'm not sure. I'm a little bit worried about Jake's volume.
Yeah, I can't tell if it's good or if I'm too quiet. So
I guess. Yes.
Yeah, I mean, so what did you get done for hobby stuff? Did you get any hobbying this week?
Hobby stuff. I did get some hobby stuff done. I finished off another 5 Iron Hands breaches. Hooray. So
excellent.
There we go.
Yeah,
they look like that. So I've given them all. The ones who have bolters have got white bolter casings, and they've got some panel on their boarding shield is white, and then, of course, all the dings and scratches and that sort of thing. Chipping is in teal.
Yeah. So they might not be.
I'm sure they are. I'm sure they are Iron Hands. I have 5 more to go, so then I'll have 20 breaches done, and then I can move on to the 20 tactical marines for the Iron Hands. But
Nice.
I also, I think I might have finished this last week, but I didn't show it. So
He's my favorite.
another big Leviathan. This one's for my Death Guard army.
See, I don't have the rims you have.
Yeah.
I don't have those because the last two that I built are the bodies are forge rolled and the arms are plastic.
Right. Yeah.
So mine predate that, so they don't have that thing.
Yeah, it's nice. I do like the thing. It gives it that an additional industrial kind of look.
Yeah,
But
for
yeah,
sure.
so I got in for Death Guard. I built a another Land Raider for my Death Guard, and
what pattern of Land Raider?
the Proteus carrier. So, and
Oh God, you built a Typhon. Oh, that's a Cerberus.
no, it's a Typhon.
Oh, the Cerberus has the lasers.
Yeah, the 3 lasers. So did the Typhon because of the Brutal 4.
Yeah, it's
which is pretty
pretty
fierce.
insane.
So this is for my Death Guard as well. I gave it the Volkite Culverins on the side. Yes, I was thinking, oh, what do I go with? Do I go with like more anti-tank punch, like las cannons? But then I read if you have an ordnance weapon and you fire the ordnance weapon, all your other weapons snap fire.
Right.
So rather than just having 2 shots with las cannons, I figured having 10 shots with Volkite Culverins gives me a better chance to hit something.
Well, does that affect your defensive weapons too?
I think it affects all for firing ordnance.
I think that's only if you move and fire ordnance.
Possibly. I'd have to go back and read it again. But additionally, though, it means if I get charged, I have defensive weapons because the
that's true.
Volkite Culverins are only strength 6. So I can Overwatch or I can return fire, that kind of fun stuff.
That's like one of those things where I kind of wish that you could do. I don't know. Maybe you can on. I don't know. I don't run a Cerberus, so I don't know what its weapon complement is. But I know you used to be able to run like twin-linked heavy flamers.
Right, yeah, in the... Oh, not in the Cerberus, you wouldn't be able to.
Because that's like, if I know that something isn't going to shoot any of its other weapons, that's the way to go. Because then if you get charged by anything, you're like, cool, I do wall of flame like on everything.
Yeah. Yeah, now it has... So you could have sponsored-mounted heavy flamers, so you could have a heavy flamer on each side.
Okay.
So you could do that. That's free. Doesn't cost anything to switch from the heavy bolters to that. The Culverins are plus 10 points. So, but yeah, so I've got that happening, which is good. That's done. And then I've got a Spartan to build for my Iron Hands. Hooray!
Nice. I guess technically I did a little bit of hobbying.
Yeah. What's the little
Like
bit
I got I ordered some new pieces for some of my bases. So I did a bunch of research, and then I just picked up a couple of new D&D books, and I looked through, and I've been reading through the new Hellboy 5th edition book.
Yep.
So different hobby, not painting miniatures, but I've been looking through that because I play other games as well. And then I did something else too. Oh, I ordered so she doesn't know this, but
We're leaning close.
Yeah. So I ordered my wife. My wife and I have been watching Mandalorian, like I'm assuming most people have been.
Okay.
And she's really enjoying it. And one of my favorite characters has always been Bo-Katan. I just think she's super cool. Sure. So my wife really likes her in the show.
Right.
So I have the Mandalorian helmet.
Yep.
Like the Hasbro Black Series. The Bo-Katan one has like been really hard to find. So my buddy John works at Target, and they had it on their website. So I was like, if you can get me one, like I'll just pay you back for it. So he called me the other day and was like, I got one. I was like, awesome. So she doesn't know, but she's getting a Bo-Katan Black Series helmet so she can put it in her office or whatever.
Right.
And I'm sure she'll probably never wear it, but I just thought it was really cool. So.
Awesome.
that was some hardcore nerd stuff. Me looking around trying to track that thing down.
Excellent. Walkabout Game says, sounds good to me. Josh says, I can hear just fine. Jim says, sounds fine here. Maybe it's just me. Maybe it's my old ears getting old. But, really cool. Aaron says, have to go put the kids to bed. Hopefully you'll be back once. Put the kid to bed. Sorry, we'll be back once you've done that. Nicole says 10 out of 10 on the husbanding. Yes.
Nice. I try.
Yep. And Josh said, did you pay the beer tax and add 6 of his favorite? For your friend John. Sean's here.
John's a good buddy of mine. I've known him. We've been friends since I think early high school.
Okay.
I think we were freshmen, I think.
Nice. And Sean's here. Hello, Sean. Welcome. So, so no hobby, but purchasing, reading some Hellboy.
I did some online pre-hobbying, if that makes sense.
Yep.
And then I did a bunch of research. Another buddy of ours, Rick, is running a D&D game and invited me to play in it, and a couple of other buddies of ours, like Ben, who you know, and
yep.
So we were all researching our characters and stuff, and it's so funny. We have a Facebook chat. And it's the random guys throwing what if we did this? There's all these ideas.
Yeah.
When we started off, it was a lot of Rick posting memes, basically telling us to knock it off because we were getting a little out of control and stuff. And then I did look through this, which is
right.
This is super cool. So Mantic did this, and I know that you got to paint the Hellboy Mantic board game pieces.
Yep.
And so they actually talk about them in this because it's the right scale, so you can just use the minis, which is really smart on their side, because now it's hopefully they'll sell more of the minis. But the rules are really cool, and it runs on fifth edition. So if anybody already knows how to play D&D, they can basically pick this thing up. It's awesome.
Right.
But the big thing for me is I'm a huge Mike Mignola art fan.
Right. Okay.
And it's all, because it's licensed. It's all his art.
Right.
So it's gorgeous, but that's been fun to look through. So
excellent. Speaking of having speaking of having other having side chats, things going on, a bunch of friends and I have been chatting about what we might possibly do at Adepticon next year.
Okay.
Because it's only 350 days away, so make sure you're getting ready for it.
Yep.
We might be doing some Necromunda.
Okay.
And I decided that because I really love the Navy breaches from Kill Team, and there's a Imperial Agents boarding patrol box coming up soon, which has 20 Navy breaches in it, plus the Euclidean Star Striders.
It is Euclidean Star Striders. It has an Eversor Assassin, and it has two things of breaches in it.
2 things of breaches in it. Yep. So I'm excited to see how they sort of blend those in, and I'm also wondering if that means they're going to possibly appear in the not too distant future in a 40k Imperial Agents sort of book.
I mean, I thought they
might.
I thought the Star Striders are just. Are they an Imperial Guard regiment, or are they?
No, they're a rogue trader.
They're
basically
rogue traders,
yeah.
right?
I think they're a rogue trader thing. But the what do you call it? So, but I'm going to do a gang of enforcers using the Navy Breacher models,
right?
And have Lady I can't remember her name, but she's the 13th daughter of Lord Helmore.
Yeah. Oh, dude, that model's great.
Yep. Spectacular model. I should have had a photo of it ready to show, but
with all of her, she's got all of her skirts, and she's it's this weird cyber tech or steampunky looking Victorian sort of dress.
Yep.
Yeah, she's pretty cool.
It's all corners of it held up by servo skulls and that kind of thing.
Cool.
Yeah, apparently she's absolutely brutal in combat, so lots of very fast, pointy attacks.
I've always had a soft spot for the Eschers.
Right. Yep.
punky Mohawk girls, I was like, take my money. Like they look amazing. And then the other one that I really really like, and I don't know why they called them. Oh God, what are they called? It's the new Palanite Enforcers or Palatine Enforcers.
Palanite, yeah.
I was like, they're Arbites. They're Adeptus Arbites. Like why are you calling them something else? Like, just give me my space cops. Just give me Judge Dredd. Like,
I think the plan there is that there's an evolution in the way that things are sort of separated. So
sure.
The arbitrators are more of a thinking they're more of a state troopers,
right?
Or sort of a federal police force, whereas the enforcers are the local cops.
Yeah, I mean, and I get that makes sense, but I want to paint.
Oh sure.
Judge Dredd. Like, I was going to buy. I might if this is gonna be something that I can play in, I might actually do the Palanites, because did you see their new robots?
Yeah, they look fantastic, don't they?
They look really cool too. So I might do like 2 of the robots, a unit of the shield guys.
Yep.
And then a unit of like the regular like troopers.
Yeah.
They're pretty cool.
Yep. It'll be good. I mean, these guys, the story wise, they won't actually be enforcers. It'll just be the enforcer rules, but they'll be like her elite bodyguard kind of thing. That,
I do have a special love for the Luther pattern ambots.
Right. Yeah.
I love those. I told you I was going to use those as my Iron Circle.
Right. Yep. Odometers.
But they're way the wrong size.
Yeah,
like they're
far too short.
They're like big Terminators.
Yeah.
And they need to be like skinny dreadnoughts.
Skinny dreadnoughts.
Like
yeah.
they're off by about 50%. So
yeah. For sure. Sean said he got himself an AMC Theater D20 popcorn holder. Somebody went and saw.
Oh yeah. Yep.
Went and saw the movie over the weekend. Very cool. I haven't seen it yet. I'm not sure if I will go and see it at the theater.
I haven't, but only because I haven't had the time. I'll probably go see it. Like if I don't see it, like this week or next week, I'll probably just go see it when I'm at Gamma in a couple weeks, because there's a movie theater like down the street from the hotel, and I know there's at least one night we're not doing anything. So
yeah, that sounds good. But yeah, Sean says Rogue Trader crew. I think you're saying that the Lady Helmore reminds him of the old Aspira.
Oh, the Spires are the worst. They were just like, hey, do you want to just run 3 specials so they can kill everybody else's gang? And you're like, I mean, yeah, I guess so.
Sure. Yeah, let's do that. Let's pick everybody off one by one. It says the Nemesis heresy novel, Horus heresy novel Nemesis, makes the Arbites. I think GW is pronouncing it as Arbites now.
Arbites is the correct form. It is supposed to be based on like rough Latin, so.
Yeah. I thought it was Arbites. Anyway. See, more like the detectives instead of the street cops. Yeah, like the Palanites are. Yeah, it's possibly more that sort of approach. Also high. Ambots are tough to kill. I have not played with an Ambot in the new edition of Necromunda, which is.
I will say the thing, talking about new editions, the Necromunda thing always cracked me up, because like when you and I worked for GW the first time, Necromunda was out. Like it was part of Specialist range, and then it kind of like went away in like the 2011, 2012. It just kind of like they just got rid of it.
Yep.
And then they brought back, oh God, what was it called? It came with Space Marine Scouts.
Yeah.
What was it War for Armageddon? I think.
I don't know. Space Marine Scouts and.
It was what?
What was it? It was Space Marine Scouts and.
It was Scouts and Orcs.
Right.
And they released it as a box set, and it came with the rule book. I think it's called it's like Armageddon Underhive or Underwar or something. But like Adam Pratt and I got it.
Yeah.
And we're looking through it, and Adam's like, "Have you looked through the rules yet?" And I was like, "Oh, I was reading all the lore in the beginning, because I really dig the lore." And Adam like flipped to the back and started with the rules, and he was like, "It's Necromunda." And I was like, "What?" He's like, "Go to the rules." So I flipped to the rules, and I'm like, this is 100% Necromunda.
Right.
The charts were the same and the way the weapons worked were the same. And then we're convinced that Adam's theory was that they were like testing the waters.
Okay.
And then literally within like I think like a year of that, they put out Necromunda, and he's like, "Yep, it's the same rules." Like I was like, "Really?" He's like, "It's identical. They just used everything from this set and put out Necromunda." I was like, "Okay."
Right. Yep.
But it's gonna drive me nuts now. What the hell was that called? It was like
I don't know. I think it might.
it was like a medium sized box set. It was like this big, and it has like Blood Angel scouts, and they're fighting like in an urban setting, and they're fighting against like orc commandos. And the idea is that I think it was Shadow War Armageddon. I think it was called.
Okay.
I think. Oh man, let me look it up real quick. Let me look it up.
Look it up. Look it up. Shadow War sounds vaguely familiar.
Yep, Shadow War Armageddon.
Okay. I have to
Find
have a look
it.
at some point. But yeah, well, then Necromunda is one of those games that so we're currently in the second, almost 2.0 edition of the game. But yeah, I was actually in a retail store when Necromunda launched. I was working in a retail store.
Let me see if
First time around, 1995. And back in the day,
I don't know what edition it was technically when I was there.
yeah, was it 95?
No.
Yeah, it was 95. But the back in the day, in the codex that we had that ruled the store, told you everything, how to do everything in the store. All miniatures must be based with Goblin Green.
Yeah, I remember that.
Even those models in the Underhive. And I will tell you that because I was a good little soldier, I made sure that all my models were based in Goblin Green. And there was a guy that we hired, Grant Pesey, who ended up running the Sydney City store, was like, "No, this is dumb. This is plainly dumb. I'm going to paint them grey." So he painted them grey. And it was like, "They're supposed to be green. It says green in the codex." And he's like, "But grey looks a lot better." And everyone was like, yeah, it does. Okay, let's paint them all grey. So, absolutely fantastic.
Was that during the run of time where like every model was red, like bright red? Was that during the red phase?
It was mid red phase. Yeah.
Oh God.
It's not that every model was bright red. It's just that every model had some bright red on it somewhere.
Yeah, for Space Wolves, it was like their bolter casings.
Yep.
And then like their blood claw marks and stuff.
Yep.
And their lenses, and then for
orcs,
it was everything.
For
everything
orcs and goblins, like in fantasy, it was spears, spear hafts were painted red. Yep.
That's so weird.
Yep.
You grab the old white dwarfs and you're like, why is everything red? And I was like, that was a whole phase. It was literally like every army had to have red in it.
Yep. There was a point where you could walk around the store and look at all of the box covers, all the box fronts, and there were like 2 that didn't have red on them, and I couldn't tell you what they are. But out of like 100 boxes, there were 2.
I think the only ones I can think of that, well, even they have a little bit of red. Like I was gonna say the old, Aspect Warriors, but even on those, like on the Swooping Hawks, they made their eyes red.
Right. Yeah, it'd be the eyes or the gems or something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, because they're all like blues and whites except for their eyes.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, really? Like...
But anyway, yes, different editions. Just before we get into talking a bit more about new editions,
Sure.
Jake and I are just going to reminisce slightly. We were like, what should we hold up for the thumbnail? And Jake found his 2nd edition, Angels of Death Codex. So that was released in 95?
Copyright 1996.
96, okay. And I found Codex Sisters of Battle.
Yeah, nice.
And amusingly enough, this is copyright in 1997, which is when 40K 3rd edition was released. So this would have come out at the beginning of the year, and 3rd edition came out in like September.
Yep. And that codex was used in third for the longest time because they didn't get a new codex for a while.
Well, no, this would have been replaced with the what do you call it? The black pamphlet.
Oh yeah, you're right.
Yep, because everything changed. So like the huge sweeping change between second and third.
Which is too bad because that book is great.
Yeah.
Like they basically put that book out to 10 months later, have it just disappear.
Yep. Relics. Yay.
Yeah. Even the one I have, like that only got like a year and a half worth of life. Oh yeah, the old Blanche pages.
Awesome.
There's
John Blanche conversion pages.
There's Mephiston up the top there.
Yep.
Oh man, these are so good. Yeah, we were talking about this earlier before we went live. Like there's so much beautiful art in these books. Like,
yep.
This one's all John Blanche and Mark Gibbons and Wayne England and Des Hanley, and even like the lore and stuff. It's written by like William King did most of the background writing in this. I was like, he took some time off from writing Gotrek and Felix. Nice battle pope going on. Sweet.
Yep. All sorts of awesome stuff. So yeah.
Yep.
Second edition codex. So if anybody,
I remember when this was the cover of the codex for Dark Angels.
Yep. That was great. That one.
I think that's Mark Gibbons. Yeah, that's Mark Gibbons.
That one was used for the when they opened the 100th store in the world in '96. Was the 100th store or the 50th store? I can't remember. I think it was the 100th. But yeah, so I used to have a T-shirt with that on it and a list of all the stores on the back.
That's pretty rad.
But I also found my Bretonian book.
I think I have my
from 4th edition.
I think I have my Vampire Counts book from that edition, or my Dark Elves book from that edition.
Actually, this would be 5th edition, 1996. Anyway.
Dude, you remember this? This was like the best part of White Dwarf.
Right.
I'd go in here with a pen in my White Dwarf, and I'd be like, I want that guy, and I want to wear that guy.
Yep.
This one's perfect. This is literally Mark II Crusade armor, Mark III Iron armor, Mark IV Maximus armor, Mark V Heresy armor, Mark VI 1, Mark VI 2, Mark 7. They have the one guy wearing Mark 8. That's the best. And you could like order all those dudes. I had that box set.
Yep.
Is that the 5th edition set, or is that the 6th edition?
It was 5th edition. Yep. Collecting your army.
Man.
All sorts of fantastic stuff. So, if you hadn't written an army list before, it shows you how to write an army list. How about that?
Dude, I love Bretonians. They're so good.
Planning your heraldry.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah.
Excellent book.
I know you're like me. I know you're friends with Mark Gibbons on Facebook, and you saw he posted the Green Knight.
Yeah. Yep.
One of my favorite pieces that he's ever done. I love that model.
Let's see if we can find that piece of artwork in here.
He's so good. I bought him. We used to do yeah, that dude, it's so good. He posted the full color one today.
Yeah.
We used to do hero battles all the time. So you'd buy a hero, or a lord, and you'd have them like fight it out. And I always went with the Green Knight because his rules were gross. Like it was like as long as I'm touching or within 3 inches of a piece of terrain, I can charge out of another piece of terrain.
Right. Yep.
He was so good. And the green sword, if you wielded it one-handed, he got more attacks. If you wielded it two-handed, he got fewer attacks, but at a much higher strength. So he would just cleave stuff. He was such a great character.
Let me find him. Where is he?
So Sean says that's how he feels about the new Imperial Guard Codex and the Votan Codex.
Yeah. Yep. I certainly feel that way. So I feel that way about the the IG Codex and the and that sort of thing, and the Votan Codex, I think, you had the opportunity to get a little bit more play in with that. I did buy that one,
and they're also not. They're not like getting rid of the codexes. They've already said that they're going to update the data sheets, but like I think a lot of the basic stuff is going to stay similar.
The rules, all the rule stuff changes.
Yeah, no,
all the rule stuff changes.
The rule stuff's all going to go away. Yeah,
the law's the same. Sure.
Yeah,
and the cool photos, but yeah, it's a little bit disappointing. But at the same time, it's a tough cycle.
Yeah,
if you're a business, what do you do?
It could be worse, right? Like you could have picked up the World Eaters Codex, which has been out at this point for like a month and a half.
Right. Okay. Yes.
And it's like, oh, cool. Well, in another 4 months, you're gonna have a whole new thing. The only thing I thought was really smart is that they came out. Like some guy bought one of the Arcs of Omen Farsight.
Right.
Literally like 2 days ago, and while he was buying it, he was like, well, I'm going to get like 3 months out of this. And I was like, nope. I'm like, they already said all the Arcs of Omen books are evergreen. Like all that stuff is carrying over into the new edition, which is why like some of like the army setup stuff feels weird. It's because it's part of the new edition. So
yeah. Yep.
But
switching from you have to have three troops and you can't have any more than 4 elites or whatever to whatever you like. No more of the 3 of the same thing, though. It's still an odd restriction, but...
Well, and the weird thing is, like, the only time you would ever do that is if you're playing an army that allows it. And a kid at the store was like, what do you mean? And I was like, let's say I want to run Deathwing.
Yep.
If my army is literally all Terminators, I have to be able to run more than just one. Unless, like, in the Angels of the Death Codex, they had the thing where if you took Deathwing... anything that had the Deathwing keyword, it allowed you to take Terminator squads as troops.
Right.
It didn't replace them as elites. It's just they could also run as troops. So you could take a Terminator command squad, and you could have 2 HQs. So you took 2 Terminator command squads, and then you took 6 Terminator squads as your troops, and then you took 3 Terminator squads as your elites. And then your heavy support was basically like, I'm going to take 3 Land Raiders.
3 Land Raiders to ferry around some of my Terminators.
Yeah.
The rest are going to deep strike.
It was nuts. Or what you could do is, I think in the next codex they changed it so that anytime you took a Terminator squad, they could take a Land Raider as a transport.
Right.
So you could take as many as you want, and then your heavy supports were basically like your 3 Dreadnoughts.
Yeah.
And Dark Angels could take the Mortis pattern, so you had like, last cannons and missile launchers, and you're like, cool, those 3 guys sit in the back of the board.
Yeah.
While my Terminators just like grind across the table to kill you.
Yeah. Exactly. Just quickly, just says 4th and 5th edition Warhammer Fantasy Battle was the best, or the one I most fondly remember. Yeah, there was a significant change between 3rd edition and 4th edition. 4th edition was the first big box set with elves and goblins. But then 4th through, there wasn't really another. Oh, there was this. I guess it wasn't a huge change between 5th and 6th. There was a change in the way the magic system worked, but
yeah, I remember the big difference between 5th and 6th was they changed magic.
Yep.
And then from 6th to 7th, they just changed some of the organization stuff.
Yeah.
And then from 7th to 8th, they went back to like it was like superhero hammer.
Right.
And then in 9th, it was like everybody was a spell caddy.
There was no 9th.
Oh, right. Sorry. in 8th, everybody was basically like you had to take. If you didn't take a bunch of level 1 wizards with like dispel scrolls,
yeah,
like you couldn't win. And I was like, I don't want to do any of that. I had the same army in 6th, 7th, and 8th. I ran the Bretonnian. Oh no, I ran the Vampire Counts, the Blood Dragon list in the back,
right,
for the Curse Shield of Musalon, the Bretonnian list.
Yep,
that list was awesome. My army, I had no shooting and no magic.
Right. It was just all. So it was like just all knights.
It was the best. It was a Blood Dragon Lord on a Nightmare, and then full command unit of Black Knights, and then a White Lord on a Skeletal Steed, full command Black Knights,
Yep.
and then just full command Black Knights with a champion.
Right.
And then I had two Banshees.
Right. Yep.
Because I'm like, well, I have points left over and I can't take another unit, so I guess I'll just take a couple. So I took a pair of Banshees that would just zip around the board and kill stuff. Like they'd go after War Machine crews is basically what they were there for.
Yep.
But yeah, that list was awesome.
Cool. Josh also said full tilt. Black Knight had near identical stats to the Green Knight.
I don't remember the Black Knight.
Full full tilt was the jousting mini jousting game that was in a White Dwarf of the similar era.
Nice.
Dan says, I'm wondering if there will be something like AOS where certain units will be considered troops if you meet a certain requirement with AHQ. I bet they will. It'll be what's the thing they've already said that it'll be core. It'll probably become core.
Yeah, I think it'll change whatever the unit keyword is, or it'll be the other way around, like where the HQ guy will give you a way to unlock the unit.
Yeah, unlock them, or basically take more of them, or you can probably take more of them, but also use them as what's the new objective secured thing that they're doing? I can't remember. Was it OC?
I was just reading it. I forget what it's called.
Yep.
It's not objective secured. It's like hang on, I'll look it up.
OP objective points. I know, but check that out. I think there's something where
I'm sure either Dan or James or somebody will know what it's called.
Yeah.
But yeah, and like they talked about like it doesn't any unit can hold an objective, but like some of them are weighted.
Yep.
So like when they showed the stats for the Terminators and the Terminator breakout, they actually showed their data card, and they only have whatever that thing is we can't remember. They have a score of 1.
Right. Yep.
Whereas like the thought is that a unit of like
intercessors.
Yeah, is it objective control?
Yeah, objective control. That's it. OC. Yeah.
Yeah. So like Terminators have an OC score of 1.
Yep.
Whereas the thought is that a unit of like intercessors would have like an OC score of like 3.
Right.
So.
So yeah, there we go. Jim Lacor says battle line can take 6 units of the same type. Yeah, that's true. Jim Broadbent says Ragnar Blackman and Gazgul Thraka both got amazing new models at the beginning of the pandemic. Just to almost never be able to see played before 9th edition changed the rules. Yeah.
Which was fine. They were equally awesome in 9th, so it's not like that hurt them.
But I think before we've been rambling a little bit, just as things sort of crop up and we've gone and attacked them. But getting back to the theme of tonight's show or the topic, I want to start by saying we know that you don't have to start playing any new edition of any game. You can keep playing the game you already have, the edition you love. Whatever it happens to be, you can go back and play previous editions, or you can go and play the new edition of any games that are released. So feel free to do it however you like. That's the little disclaimer at the start. So all good. But I think if we kick off with how we approach it, how we react when we hear something. So how you react, and we'll talk about that. Then we'll talk about how I react. And then I have some notes from the Facebook group of from folks and sort of how they respond to different changes. So,
all right. So Dave, so how do you react when you?
Well, that's what I'm asking you. I'm asking you.
You're
first.
asking me?
Yeah.
I think so are we asking me specifically about this new edition or any edition?
Any new edition of a game that you love, that you've invested time and money into?
I think a lot of times it depends on what my current feelings are for the current edition.
Okay.
So I mean, so at this point, like if we're going to use 40K for example.
Yep.
I've played basically every edition that's been released.
Yep.
And I always have to explain to some of the people at the shop where I'm like, they're like, oh, well, second edition. Like, what about first edition? I was like, Rogue Trader isn't really Warhammer. Like, it's great. It's a super fun game, but it's totally different. It is essentially squad-based role-playing, basically. Like, it's not it's not a tabletop war game. Like it just it isn't the same thing. So I'm like, apart from that, and I don't really remember the change. I remember thinking like, oh, these are two different games. Like there's Rogue Trader, and then there's like Warhammer 40K.
Yeah.
I don't know if that was intentional or if that's what Games Workshop wanted, but
I'm sure it was. Yeah.
Right. So, but in my head, they've always been two different games. So when I started in and really got into the hobby, I really played third. Like second was out when I was collecting. I didn't really play a lot of the games, and then third was out when I like really jumped back in hard, and I really enjoyed third. I liked third a lot. I thought it was really fun. I understood why a lot of people were like, "Oh, it's so much more simplified than second edition, and it's dumbed down and all this." And I was like, "It's just a different game." I think they just people want to be able to get in and play a game and not have to spend 4 hours playing a 500-point game, where if Dave is playing orcs, you have a whole other subset of rules outside the regular rules. And then there were things.
Hey,
in
don't
Orc
knock
Army.
my mad boys. Keep going.
I loved orcs. I loved them.
Keep
but
going. Keep going.
they had so many things in their own army that didn't even follow their rules.
Sure.
So they all had they were all it was part of the fun of playing them, right? It was all like the crazy charts. It's like, oh, I'm gonna use my bubble chucka. Oh, I rolled. What's an 8 mean? 8. You know what I mean? Like you had to figure out everything that happened.
Yep.
And in third, they were like, oh, they got rid of all that. I was like, yeah, I think they wanted to make it more of like it's traditional toy soldiers. I move my toy soldiers. You move your toy soldiers. I move my toy soldiers. When fourth came out, I remember I was excited because there was all this talk about how they were going to layer some complexity onto the game.
Right.
So a lot of the old grognards that were really mad about third, it seemed like, oh, maybe this will be cool. When fifth came out, fifth is one of my favorites of all time. I think fifth is just one of the best games they've ever designed. It was super tight, such a fun game. Sixth was basically just fifth with amended vehicle rules.
Right.
The big thing for me, the biggest one that I remember being aggravated by was the sixth to the seventh change.
Right.
Because sixth was only out for like a year and 10 months or something. I don't even think it was.
I think it was a bit longer, but yeah.
I don't think it was even 2 years. I don't think it got 2 years of support.
It did.
Really?
Trust me.
All right. It wasn't much longer than that if it was.
No. It would have been 3 years, no longer than 3 years for sure.
Yeah. So that was the quickest turnaround, and that was the biggest. That one felt like the biggest change.
Right.
Like third, and then fourth, and then fifth, and then it felt like they were just adding stuff onto the game.
Yep.
And then seventh was like, we made another game. Like it felt different. And I think seventh was one of those things where I was excited for it. I was like, okay, this could be neat. Like I wanted to be kind of proactive and wait and jump into this game and be excited about it. And then I think as they started layering on more complexity, by the time I got to the end of seventh, when they announced eighth, I was like, oh, thank God. Like I could not wait to get out of seventh. It's not a bad game. It's just it was so over the top. I was explaining to somebody how, he was like, what do I need to do to play this game? And I was like, first you have to read about 350 pages worth of rules. Yep. And he was like, what? And I was like, so there's the main rule book, there's additional rules and special rules, then there's optional rules, which you kind of need because if your opponent's using them, you need to know them. Then there's your codex. And then in some cases, your codex had a supplementary codex.
Right.
So it's like, oh, I'm playing Mechanicus. And you're like, well, good news. There's the regular Adeptus Mechanicus book, and then there was the Skitarii book.
Yeah.
So it's like, if you're using Skitarii, you need to know both of those. It was just a lot. And then they started putting out all the chapter approved and all the updates, and it was like, you need a college annex course to really understand how to play 7. It was just too much. I was like, I understand why it's harder for people to get in. We want to make a game that, all of us who've been playing, we really like it. We want to play this game. But also, this new guy can get into the game and, we can add him to the community. I don't want him to be like, oh, I can't. I don't have the 30 hours required to read all of this stuff to get into the game.
Yeah.
But I would say generally that's kind of my feeling. It really depends on how I feel about where things are. I think going from 5th to 6th, I was really excited. Going from 6th to 7th, at first, I was a little hesitant because I really liked 6th, and 7th, it was clear was different.
Yep.
And then once I got in, I was like, oh, this is okay. But like 7th to 8th, I was like, yes, bring it on. Let's get rid of 7th. I could not wait to get out of that system. So
Right.
uh,
So that would be the same with any other system. So like Infinity. Did you ever play Infinity?
I didn't really play Infinity. I will say another edition that would be really weird if you want to do another game would be something like War Machine.
Right. Yep.
Like when War Machine first came out, it was like a skirmish game, and I really liked it. I had a really small force. I bought the Signar starter, which was like a warcaster. Yeah, it was a warcaster, and then I had 2 of the mechs, which I was like, these are great.
2 jacks.
And,
Yep.
and then I bought a unit of trenchers.
Yep.
Who were like they're like soldier dudes, and then I got the special character Boom Howler, who was like the Trollkin.
Yep.
And he could do like a bunch of cool stuff. And like I was like, oh, this is great. Like my whole army is like 9 dudes. It's like 8 infantry and 2 dreadnoughts basically.
Sure.
And like if you wanted to make it a big game, you'd add like another mech and another unit.
Right.
And that was like like Dave, I guess if you have all day Saturday, like we could play this.
Right.
But it was fun because it was like a small skirmish game, and I was like, I already have my big game. I play, Warhammer Fantasy, and I play 40K. Like, I like that this is like quick and fast and dirty, and the rules are pretty straightforward.
Yeah.
And then when they went to Mark II, they were like, let's take a shot at the crown. And they were like, nope, now it's a huge tabletop war game. And I was like, I already have one of those. I'm good. Like,
okay.
And the rules were super different. Like, they really tweaked it a lot. And then that's when you brought in the whole competitive meta that I think has kind of wrecked that game. I think that game was super fun when it was like, hey, man, let's throw some dice around and play some games. And then the meta community came in, and that's when they got rid of, like, real terrain and made it all, like, templates. And
Right.
I was like, yeah, okay. I'm like, this isn't for me. Again, if you're into it, great. But, like, I was just like, this does not feel like what I signed up for.
Right. Yep.
How about you? What did you, how do you feel about new editions?
I think I probably have a similar sort of thing, and generally it's like, okay, it's going to happen.
Yes, it is occurring.
It's going to happen, and it's going to happen roughly at a certain time. So I'll be ready to take a look at it. Ready to, like, I think from 8th to 9th, I didn't pick up the Indomitus set immediatity.
That's a beautiful box.
It is a beautiful box. It's fantastic value.
That might be one of my favorite starter boxes.
You'll notice I said I didn't pick it up immediately.
I tempered my excitement. I waited.
Yes, I waited a bit to see what it was going to be like, or whether I would need them. I don't really need them, but I have the box sitting just there. I can see it. It's screaming at me. But yeah, generally it's like I'll keep doing what I'm doing, keep painting what I'm painting, and if somebody goes, "Hey, Dave, you want to have a game?" I'll be like, "Okay, cool, yeah, let's play a game of whatever it happens to be." So, sometime over the next 2 or 3 months, I'll probably gonna have another game of 9th edition 40K with my Leagues of Votan. I think that would be cool. I'd like to get another game in with them, but it might be because of that playing for such a long time and playing through all of the editions, when we're talking specifically about 40K, that I'm not. It's not like, oh yeah, I've got to hurry up and get 5 more games in, or 4 more games in, or I've got to go to an event which is like a last hurrah for 9th edition and that kind of thing. I don't feel the need to do that, and it's maybe I just keep plodding along steadily and painting the models that I want to paint. Really, and then it's finding out what I do. But because I have what I find, because I have so many of these books from previous editions, and some of them more recently that have only seen use in 1 or 2 or 3 games.
Right.
I'm now at the point where I'll paint up an army for sure, but I will wait until I know that I definitely have a game with that army before I buy a set of rules for it.
Well, I think,
So.
and I think that's a different thing.
Yeah,
Like,
it is.
like I was telling somebody I think we were talking about an Adepticon with somebody. I forget who we were
Yep.
talking to, and I said something along the lines of, I've essentially played a variation of the same army
Yep.
of Blood Angels since 3rd edition.
Right.
Like I've had to change certain units based on whatever the current codex is. Like, oh, that unit you can't do that, or those are elites now, or whatever. But like, it's basically the same army. Like I've had to move some units in and out.
Yep.
But my overall list has basically, like, the core of the army is the same.
Yeah.
I'm playing 85% the same list in every edition.
Yeah.
So I always think that's a big thing. So we're always like, oh, I'm gonna have to get rid of everything. And I'm like, it's just the rules. It's the $40 or $50 codex you bought, like that you've. And people were like, oh, it was a ripoff. I'm like, you got 4 years of life out of it. Like,
Yeah.
if you feel like
If you play Space Marines, you get 4 years of life out of your codexes. But
sure.
Yeah. If it's Imperial Guard, it's more like 1, 2.
Yeah, 1 or 2. I will say that kind of annoys me. Like, and I feel that, like, if you and I were working in planning and development at Games Workshop, and they were and let's be honest, we've known basically for 3 years that 10th edition was coming out this summer.
Yep.
Like clockwork. So going into this last 6 months or even 8 months, even a year, I feel like GW should have been a lot more cautious about releasing codexes. And I know that they're not going to do that because like there's armies that want to get support and people are like, oh, I want to play the new thing. But it's like, guys, we've waited almost 3 editions for a new Guard codex. And rather than wait another 4 months and release it, you thought it would be a great idea. Like, and again, World Leaders is an even better example.
Yeah.
Like, you did not need to release a codex for them now. You could have waited and done it in 3 months.
Yep.
But instead, they put it out, and now the book that you literally bought a month ago is going to be a collectible in 3 months.
Yep. In 10 years' time, you'll be able to hold it up on a YouTube live stream and complain about it. But I think, so from a reaction standpoint, I guess, reacting to, what's the word I'm looking for? Reacting to the news of the change. I think generally I will plod along doing what I was doing anyway.
Right.
I do have some friends. There's one gaming group that I play with, and they have an unwritten rule, which is basically as soon as a new edition is announced, they will stop playing that game, and they'll move on to. They'll play other games. They play other games all the time anyway, but they just won't play that particular game until the new edition is released.
Oh, okay. I see what you're saying.
It's not like they'll just go, oh no, never playing 40k again. It'll be like, never playing 9th edition again. We will wait until 10th edition is released. But it'd be the same with anything else. It'd be the same with like Age of Sigmar 3rd edition, or hang on, are we in 3rd edition now for Age of Sigmar?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. So yeah, if they announce it next year that Age of Sigmar is getting its 4th edition, then they'd stop playing 3rd edition and wait for 4th edition to be released. So it's a different, very different approach there. Kind of an interesting thing.
So they just essentially put it on the shelf until it's been fully updated.
Yeah. Yep. And then move, like, everything gets moved over wholesale to the new edition. So
I can get behind that.
yeah.
I mean, it's not like I said. I think it's different.
Right.
Like if we're playing 40k, like my army, like I said, is essentially going to be the same. I'm not gonna put that army in a glass case and go buy a new Blood Angel army. I'm just gonna be like, oh, what do I have to? Oh, that unit I can't use anymore. Like one of the biggest ones that weirded me out was when they switched to 7th. Remember they did the indexes.
Right. Yep.
So they did index updates, which I thought was a great idea. They basically took every army and brought them all up to the starting line. So it's like every army now has brand new rules for the new edition. Like you don't have codexes, but all of your rules have been updated. And I was like, okay, cool. Like I like that. But then they had like legacy units.
Right.
So like one of mine was again running Blood Angels. I used to be able to do veteran jump troops.
Right.
which were jump troops with like they were basically veterans with jump packs, so they got an extra attack.
Yep.
And they had like different weapon options, and they counted as an elite's choice.
Right.
And then the other one that even now I run, and it used to people would be like, "What is that unit?" Is that you could run honor guard,
Right.
which were first company veterans with gold helmets and jump packs that you could run as a command squad.
Yep.
And they're great. Like their rules are nuts. They're like they're very similar to like Vanguard veterans.
Right. Yep.
But they were better.
Sure. Of course.
And then the other one was like a sanguinary priest with a jump pack.
Yep.
And they're like, well, you can't give him a jump pack. And I was like, what do you mean I can't give him a jump pack? My whole army has jump packs. And they're like, oh yeah, it's not in the rule book anymore. And then in the index, it was still in there, and you could give him a jump pack. And I was like, I'm running him. He's a legacy unit, but like, you know what I mean? Like, so stuff like that was always weird to me. I'm like, well, what can I not do anymore? What can I do?
Yeah.
So, you know, I'm expecting that.
Sure.
You know, and with the way they've explained the new rule set about how there's no more sub factions.
Right.
Like, I was like, so what does that mean? Like, I get it. Like, Blood Angels are Space Marines, Dark Angels are Space Marines, but like, mechanically, what does that mean? Like, what can I do? What can I do?
Right.
Like, the keyword stuff is great. You can call it whatever you want, but like, how does that actually affect my army?
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. I think it's definitely going to be interesting there. But yeah, it always is interesting to see how your army that you've worked on for a long time has to adjust with a new edition. But jumping back to the chat, Dan says, I just want my Imperial Knights to stand my Imperial Knights on an objective and dare somebody to move me off it. So yeah, fingers crossed they'll have an objective control of 5 or 10 or something horrendous. Some of them will.
They should.
Yeah. Nicole says we love a good ramble, though. So going back to when I said we've just been rambling. Jim says, all I remember from playing second was everything was in cover and in Overwatch. Yeah.
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah, was a lot
That's
of that.
fair memory. Josh says, if I recall correctly, Andy Chambers said that third was designed to let you use more of the cool stuff from your collection, which second had limitations to play at higher model or unit count. Yeah, that's exactly it. Third, the mechanics in third certainly opened it up to larger games in the same amount of time as smaller games a second.
Right.
So, definitely cool. Dan says if you play cool armies like Chaos, you get maybe 6 or 8 months with your codex.
He's not wrong. I mean,
sometimes it's 6 to 8 months. Sometimes it's 5, 10 years, perhaps.
Yeah.
Depending on how the switchover goes. Chris Kemming is here. Good evening, gentlemen. He says.
What's up, Chris?
John says indexes are the best. One of the things I'm looking forward to is the Great Reset. For a few months, we'll have have a more coherent game system before codexes fragment the rules again. Yep, absolutely right, John. I agree with that, and I think that's one of the interesting things to look at with an edition reset, with a big reset between games, and how that can, I guess, level the playing field. If you want to use it as that kind of approach. Sorry, just quickly, Hank says, the real question is how it impacts terrain and spray team.
Yeah, that's a valid point.
How much more stuff we have to spray for every table. Thanks,
if they're gonna bump it up and make it so there's more terrain, like with Heresy is supposed to be more crowded than a 40k game.
Right.
So if they decide to pull that and put that in 40k, then yeah, you guys are have to paint more stuff.
Surprise, surprise! We have to paint more stuff. We're gonna have to do that anyway. But just quickly, going back to John's comment there about having more coherent game system. I think it's always very interesting to see how that happens, and I often get the feeling that at the beginning of an edition, they have a fairly clear idea of what they want to layer on top of that over time. Yeah. But they may not have a total grasp on how each of those layers will interact with the layers that they introduce later on.
They talked about that. They talked about that when we were at Adepticon.
Yep.
Again, thank you, Hank. They were talking about the two designers were talking about, what they were looking forward to and things they were going to try to avoid. And I think that Games Workshop has gone out of their way several times now to try to really emphasize the thing that they're not trying to make a meta chasing, like, super competitive game. Like, that's not their intention. They want to make a tabletop war game that is balanced and fun. And yeah, whenever new stuff comes out, like any game is going to get a little swingy when the new shiny thing comes out.
Yep.
And then, you've got a double handful of dudes online who, have advanced mathematics degrees and way too much time on their hands, and they sit around, like, min-maxing everything to figure out, like, what's the highest percentage of making that happen. And I honestly don't think that helps the game. If that's your hobby, like, if you want to, if you're a mathematician and you want to crunch numbers, I am thrilled for you, and I'm glad that we have people like you. When it comes to the gaming community at large, I don't think that stuff helps. I really don't.
Yeah.
Like, it's you knew this from when we worked at the company. What army should I play? What army is the best army? Whatever you think looks the coolest, that's what you should play.
Yeah.
Do you think the big green guys look awesome? You should play them. What are the rules like? Don't worry about it. You should just play that army because they look rad.
Yeah.
Do you like the giant red ape with wings? You should play Corn. Like, you should run Angron and throw him around the board at somebody and really ruin somebody's day. Like, I mean, I think that there's, I totally think that there's enough room in the community for people who want to play competitive.
Yeah.
Everybody has to remember that's not what this game is designed for.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
Yeah. It's
by the
designed
way,
to sell
while we were-
minis, but yeah.
Yeah, well, it's designed for us to hang out and paint stuff and play a game.
Yeah. Yep.
It's not like, okay, well, I crunch the numbers, and if I take 2 less Space Marines, I can take this, and I can upgrade all my guns. So then when I fly to Vegas next week and I play in the LVO tournament, I can make sure that I absolutely ruin whoever's day is across the table for me. Like, that's not what the game is designed for.
that was super specific. Did you have somebody in mind? But anyway, keep going.
I mean, it's like okay, so how can I make sure that next year I fly out and absolutely just ruin somebody's day, and they'll really regret that they flew out to that tournament.
Yep.
While we were talking, I grabbed some notes and I looked at all of the different editions.
Yep.
And it's kind of funny. Like we talked about, it's been clockwork.
Yep.
So Rogue Trader's 87.
Yep.
And then 6 years later, in 93, you have second.
Second. Yep.
And then in 98, you have third.
Right.
And then in 2004, you have fourth.
Right.
So that was the biggest one, probably. That's like 6. That's the same as Rogue Trader. So it was 6 years, then 5 years, then 6 years, and then fourth to fifth. Fifth is then 2008.
Yep.
So 4 years. Sixth is 2012. So 4 years.
Yep.
Seventh is 2014. So 2
years. Okay.
Literally, it
Right,
got
yeah.
the least amount of support.
Right.
And then after that, it's gone to 3. So 14 for 7th, 2017 for 8th edition.
Yep.
2020 for 9th, and now this year 2023 for 10th. But you and I have the theory that this next edition will be a 4-year edition
Yeah.
because they're going to bring back Old World, so they'll have 4 legs on the table instead of 3.
Yep. So be able to rotate through those. You heard it here second.
That's right.
Like we've mentioned it before, haven't we? So
Yeah, but you heard it here first. You heard it from us first, right? So the rotation will be Age of Sigmar, Horus Heresy, Warhammer Old World, 40K. So you'll get 4 years of each edition.
yeah. Yep. That's
But
what I reckon.
you'll probably, but Dan, just so you know, you'll probably still only get 6 to 8 months of Chaos Space Marine Codex play.
Yeah. Fantastic. Mark Maxey's here, says, hey all. Speaking from experience? We have a little bit of experience.
Yeah, a bit.
Yeah. And Shaw says he loved the changes from 5th to 6th edition. So that was in 2000. Fantasy Battle, sorry.
That was the
2000.
one where, what was the big change from that? Isn't that when they made like the breakouts where you had like lords and heroes and they differentiated them, and then you also had like the progression unit thing where you could like make your list and then add stuff?
I'm not sure about that one. That was the one where they basically switched from so the box set was Empire and Orcs. it had the beautifully sort of elaborate, looked like a wood carved cover for the main rulebook. That was when it started to get a bit more serious. The old world got a little bit more serious, but that's when they got rid of the magic cards for battle magic, and yeah, I think the magic was the biggest change between 5th and 6th.
What was the Warhammer starter set that was the big red box? Was that 5th or 6th?
Big red box? No, that was 6th. Yeah.
Okay.
Would have had the Empire and Orcs on it.
Yeah, but like the box that was all red and it said Warhammer in gold.
Yeah.
But when it was on the shelf, it was just a big red rectangle.
I don't know. I don't think they've had one with just that.
I think so.
Maybe it was a like a, what do you call it? Not window dressing.
Like a display box?
Not display. There's another word for it. I can't remember what the word is. It'll come to me. But yeah. Sean says, "What about the rumors for New Epic?" I think the rumors for New Epic are essentially all come from everybody who is super keen for there to be a New Epic. I don't think there's anything that GW has said.
That's true.
That says there's a new Epic coming. I think
stuff has trickled my way through various sources, and I'm not gonna speak to the veracity of these.
Except you'll just repeat them.
Yeah, 100%. So the biggest one that I heard was when they were working on because what Titanicus came out first, right? The new Titanicus.
Well, there was the original Adeptus Titanicus.
No, for the current one.
I think the current one, yeah,
that came out, and then Aeronautica Imperialis.
Right? Yeah, the second edition of Aeronautica Imperialis came out after that. Yep.
So when Titanicus came out, everybody was super jazzed, and because it's a great game. I really enjoy it. But when it came out, there was a lot of people being like, "Oh, I wonder if this means," because like with the old one, you had Titanicus came out first. And then they came out with Epic. I remember buying the Space Marine box. It was awesome. So people were like, "Oh, I wonder if they're going to do the same thing." And then I was talking to, not Pete Foley. Who was I talking to? I was talking to James, is one of the guys at Forge World, and I was asking him about it. I was like, "Oh, they're going to do any other Epic-sized, games?" And he like very very cagily was like, "Have you seen the new tabletop?" terrain tile you can buy for Titanicus?" And I was like, "I have not." He's like, "You should look at it." And I went over and I looked at it, and in the corner there was a crashed Xiphon Space Marine fighter.
Right.
That was the right scale.
Yeah.
And then within a couple of months of that, they released an Aeronautica Imperialis.
Okay.
Which again is another 6 mil epic scale game. And then the rumor that I've heard is that COVID screwed up a lot of stuff. They had some stuff planned, but everything got pushed back like a year or two. In terms of like the specialist range stuff, because they had to they closed the factory for 3 months and they had to dig out of that. So all the specialist range stuff got like pushed down the road.
Sure.
But the rumor that I heard was that the next one that's going to come out is a box set that's basically all tanks, and it's called Talarn.
All right. Yeah.
And the idea
I think it mentioned that. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's like it's like World War II, Kursk. So it's like a ton of Chaos tanks, or a ton of Heretic tanks and a ton of Loyalist tanks, and it's literally the battle that turns Talarn from a garden world into an irradiated desert. Right. So the rumor was that, but again, it was going to be 6 mil like Sakarans and Land Raiders and stuff, and I was like, "Oh, that sounds amazing." And then the whole thing was it was a setup for then they would release infantry, because that'd be the only thing you don't have.
Right.
Because you've got Titans, you've got aircraft, you've got tanks, you just don't have any infantry. So again, I think it'd be cool. I think it'd be smart for them. It's not like it's a heavy lift.
Yeah. Yeah. Just quickly, we jump in. Sean said that one of the other changes was that you had slots with minimum number of core units that you had to take for 6th edition.
That's the one I was thinking of.
Fantasy. Josh says Titanicus and Flyaroundicus.
Yep. Solid.
Yep. Dave Hummel is here. Howdy. Welcome,
What's up, Dave?
Glad you could make it. Mark says, any Mordheim rumors? Sadly, no. Sadly, no. That would be awesome, though. And Sean says, yes, that would be neat. And Dave Hummel says, we can hope, probably after the old world launches. I think there's a much bigger chance for that.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure some of those, the Cities of Sigmar models that we've seen already will also make their way into people's Mordheim warbands.
Are you gonna run the? What are you gonna run? 60 slingers or?
No. Give me a whole bunch of. It'll be militia.
Carnival of Chaos.
No, it'll be all militia. It'll be like half of them with pitchforks, and the other half with like buckler and dagger.
Okay.
I'm not sure why, but they will look very cool, I think. And Sean says it's basically Warcry. It's true. Warcry is a little bit smoother though. It's a different game. It's a different feel to it. Yeah.
Warcry has the same thing as like the new Kill Team.
Yep.
Like everybody's like, oh, Kill Team's 40K, and I was like, it is not 40K. It is a totally different rule set. It is a skirmish game.
Yep.
Warcry is the same thing. It's a little wonky. There's definitely some parts that didn't make a lot of sense. The new edition's really good. They fixed a lot of it. Yep. But it was like, oh, your guys fly, you win the game.
Yeah. Okay. I'm going to jump in now. We're going to talk about. I'm going to read out and we'll discuss quickly the some thoughts from folks in the Facebook group. First off, I'm going to go with Joey Maguire's comment. I'll have one glass of doom and gloom, please.
Ooh.
That's how he reacts to news of a new edition, which is kind of funny. I think Joey doesn't always go doom and gloom, but I think it's kind of fun there. Adam Abramovich from The Army Painter, who we had on as a guest 3 weeks ago. You can go back and check out that episode. It's the best time to start a new army or build that thematic army that you've been putting off because the rules were shit.
like either his white scar, like the white scars that he. Oh no, that's for Horus Heresy.
That's for Horus Heresy. Yep, that he's started work on, or the Polish Lancer.
He's gonna finish his guard and add all those Polish Lancers.
Yep. So Cliff Edders wrote how Cliff handles a new release. Step 1, general interest in how the new edition changes the game. 2, appreciation for it, but a fairly stalwart decision to just buy the rulebook and not the big sexy box. 3, see the contents of the box. Commitment to not really get into it, wavers briefly, but no, I will not buy the box. 4, the box comes out. I am not buying the box. 4, a friend inevitably buys the box set, and I wind up buying half the models of the box set from him. 6, I buy another box. So that's fantastic. That's a great way to approach every new edition for every game you play, Cliff.
That's pretty solid.
As long as you know that in the end you're buying the box.
Yeah. It's honest. I like that.
Yep, definitely good. Jordan Cameron says that a new edition brings an inevitable new project or a return to an old project. He said, as grimdark excitement runs rampant through my system, or whatever theme the game system has. So mostly announcements like this get me to remember what excites me about the models or the setting, as the rules take a back seat for a while, which is a pretty good.
There's that tiny like Gretchen voice in the back of your head that's like, this time I'm going to do it this way.
Yeah. And you don't have to worry about what the rules are. As an example, when Corvus Belli's Code 1 released, it got me buying their stuff again like an addict. And I've never even fully read the rules, but the advertisements and the promotions got me thinking about how much fun the setting is.
Yeah, Code 1 is the new like stripped down version of Infinity.
Yep. So that's an interesting approach, interesting realization that when you hear that there's a new edition coming, you can just move that rules section to the back and the side and worry about it later. Josh says, this is Josh Potter in the comments, says, I observe with a level of detached interest. Will it be streamlined? Are the game design principles sound? Can situations not covered by the rules, trademark, be reasonably solved by applying the underlying principles of the game's design? Or are the FAQ solutions whimsical and by fiat of the designer or the design team who sort of come up with it on the fly? Can I boil everything down to a rule of thumb and make it easy to teach, or does it become a game of gotcha with convoluted and exceptional rules? Can I engage with the rules for a low cost, which leaves more dollars for models? Or am I required to buy 35.765 minus E equals MC squared to the power of 42 rulebooks in order to update my favorite army or indeed my whole collection? I wonder though, is this new edition, talking about the 40k, moving into talking about 40k, is this new edition being handled in a way as an answer? Oh, in a way, as an answer to one-page rules success?
So, I've heard this a couple times now.
Yeah.
And whenever I hear this, it always kind of makes me kind of smile. Because I think the idea of one-page rules is really is I think it's great. I think it's again super neat. The reality is, I don't know anybody who uses that. And what I mean by that is, again, we've talked this before.
Yep.
I live in a major metro area.
Yep.
I own and I'm in a store every day.
Yep.
People can play whatever they want. Like we carry everything. So if you wanted to come in and play one-page rules, you totally can.
Yep.
But because we have a 40k community, people want to play 40k.
Right.
But I can understand, like, if you and I lived in the middle of nowhere and we don't have a store and I play at your house and then you play at my house and we don't have a store to go to buy all the books and stuff and we downloaded the one-page rules, I totally understand the appeal.
Yep.
I think that stuff exists for people who don't have access to like a big, like a robust community with a lot of players and a regular routine of gaming,
right?
You know, as opposed to, you know, not having that as a resource. Like I totally get that. I will say, if I can, as a professional, I think the big thing that I think this edition is trying to tackle, that was a problem in the last two editions, is I think that they have from going from 7th to 8th, they tried to simplify things and make things easier. Because 7th was getting a little crazy. Like we talked about. It was hundreds of pages of rules.
Yeah.
And when they put out 8th, I remember one of the big selling points was, much like Age of Sigmar, the core rules are 12 pages.
Yep.
That's it. It's 12 pages and then your codex and you're good to go. And I was like, oh, again, like we talked about, ease of entry. That sounds great. Now, for those of us who are experienced players, like we can layer on complexity and add new things and tweak stuff out. But for a new player, it's like, oh, this is it. I just read this and I can play. That sounds awesome. The problem is that by the time they got to the end, by adding FAQs and updates and chapter approved and, you know, White Dwarf articles, you've added all this stuff. So you're back to the same problem you had in 7th.
Yep.
It's the bloat. The bloat is not something I enjoy. I don't want to have to do that.
Yeah.
And then 9th did the same thing. They're like, okay, cool. We're going to etch-a-sketch this. Here's the new edition. We fixed it all. And then I'm like, right, but now that we're getting towards the end, you're seeing the same thing. It's been 3 years of them, like, stacking flapjacks of rules on top of each other until you're like, okay, well, I don't want to, like, this seems like it's a lot.
Yeah.
And a bunch of the alpha testers, and I'm friends with some of them, a lot of people that got early access to stuff during the testing process over the last year leading up to this, one of the big things is there has definitely been a design philosophy over the last couple of years that it's because we're not being specific enough. Like we as the rules writers, we're not being clear enough. What we need to do is add another chart and add 3 or 4 rules that really specify that. And it's like, okay, well, you did that. Hey, but I ran into this weird situation where this happens. What do I do? And they're like, oh, okay, we're going to add another subchart and then 2 more special rules. And it's like, I don't think drilling down on specifics is the problem. I think it's that the rule set isn't like tidy enough to catch everything.
It goes back to that thing that Josh was saying there is what's the rule of thumb? What are the underlying principles of the game?
Right.
And so if you don't have those locked in,
yeah,
you got issues.
The two designers at Adepticon, they said one of the big things they want to do is they want to get away from every time a new codex launches, it gets super swingy. Oh, it swings towards the new codex. Like they want to make sure that they keep it balanced. I think that's one of the things I really like about the new sheets they were talking about. The new
data cards.
the data slates.
Yeah.
I think those would be really cool because now you don't need to update everything. It's like, oh, this is what these guys do. Oh, there's a new weapon. Okay, we're gonna add it to that data slate. It just slots in. Everything else stays the same. As long as they stick to that,
Yep.
I think that I have high hopes for this edition. I really think it could be. I really think it's going to be kind of like a best of multiple editions worth of stuff that's going to be easy to play and easy to like teach people. So.
Yeah. For sure. Now I'm going to jump in and say, obviously my experience with one-page rules is going to be a different experience than yours, Jake. Also in a location with a lot of in a location with a bunch of stores, very robust 40k community. My friends that I was talking about, who like when a new edition of any game is announced, if they play that game, they'll stop playing until the new edition is released. They've been playing quite a bit of experimenting with one-page rules recently,
Right.
just using their 40k armies. But so they're doing that as well as playing 40k. They can get a game of 40k anytime they like, but they're also playing like with friends, not just with random people, but they can games of 40k with friends, but they're also just experimenting with one-page rules. I'm going to say I don't think, and Games Workshop is aware of one-page rules, but I don't think they're particularly worried about them at all.
Yeah, again, anybody who tells you that stuff, I'm just like,
You're
wrong.
The volume is very different.
Right.
The two volumes, the number of people who are using it versus the number of people who are using it.
Right.
And that's my opinion, of course. Finally, I will mention Patrick Keith. So Patrick Keith, Sculpt Dude, awesome sculptor from Bombshell Minis, said, I don't think I've played a game of 40k since 2nd edition. A little bit like Aaron was saying, he's been out since 5th edition. But the announced changes have me very interested in taking a closer look at 10th. I said, oh, that's interesting. Do new editions ever get you interested in returning to a game? And John Steining said in it that, yes, I haven't played 9th, but I'm excited to play 10th. The cards, list building, and codex reset makes it a great time to re-engage. Fingers crossed they've streamlined it as much as they've teased. If the data cards mean I don't have to look things up, then the Omnissiah be praised. Absolutely. However, Mike Becker went on to say that he's at the reverse at this point, and near the start of 9th, I realized how many times I've been tricked at every edition by $500 of basically the same rules. Then after 3 months, your army rules are no good. So a little bit of exaggeration there, but a little bit of hyperbole, but still the same appropriate thing. I just no longer have the time, money, or inclination to play Catch the Dragon with war games. It's one of the reasons I love Middle-earth strategy battle game. The game is stable, which is absolutely true.
Yeah.
It's essentially the same rule set that it was in 2001.
But again, I also think, like, again, from a business perspective, I think that, like, the Lord of the Rings game is great.
Yeah.
It really is. It's a great game.
Sure.
But I also think that from Games Workshop's viewpoint, and obviously from the community's viewpoint, it's the smallest of their games.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, apart from, like, you know, Blood Bowl and, like, the specials range, when we were there, Lord of the Rings was a huge chunk of our business.
Yeah.
You walked into a Games Workshop store, and it was like 40K on that wall, Warhammer Fantasy on that wall, Lord of the Rings on that wall, and a tiny little strip of specialist range, right? That was like every store looked like that. And then I think over the last couple of years, like Sean's talking about, like Age of Sigmar originally had like a 3-page rule system. People didn't like it. I think that's more because of how
they introduced it. But
yeah, I think it's because they're like, yeah, we got rid of your game. We introduced this new game. It was like, well, why? And they're like, yeah, don't worry about it. You can either buy it or you don't have to.
Remember that 30 years of lore that you've lovingly learned? And
yeah, who cares? It's all gone now.
Yep, gone.
Not anymore. It's all in the trash.
Hey, play this game. It's only 3 pages of rules. But what's it all about? Well, we haven't quite worked that out yet. let's keep going.
Yeah, we did. It was the ultimate, like, we did not think this through at all. Like, step one was they're like, we're gonna make a new game to replace Warhammer Fantasy Battle, and then they're like, what's step two? And they're like, we already did it, and you're like, there's no other steps, and they're like, no, we don't have any other steps. Like, that's like literally, like, that was the plan with that launch.
Yeah.
But yeah, but back to my point. Like, so right now you've got 40K is by far their biggest game. It's not even close. It is by far their largest game. Heresy has been a huge surprise for them. Like, it's done really, really well. Like, they've blown through everything. They've way outsold what they thought they were going to sell. The current edition of Age of Sigmar is really good. Like, we have a ton of players. All the big tournaments are all, like, you know, hundreds and hundreds of players. Like, it clearly has a fan base, and I think that it's gotten stronger each time that they've kind of updated it. Whereas, like you said, like Lord of the Rings they've never really updated the rules. They've updated the books, but it's basically the same game. Like,
it's the same. Yeah, it's the same system.
Right. Like, they've cleaned up the books and put out, like, new editions and stuff, but it's all the same core rules.
It's the same core rules because they're super elegant.
Yeah. So, but again, that's like their fourth biggest game.
Yeah.
And I think for them, they're just like, we'll put out a new book, or hey, let's make some new cool terrain or whatever. Because it's like, you've already released essentially everything. Like,
yep. Exactly.
Like, can I run my just Tom Bombadil army? It's just Tom Bombadil.
Sure.
I run just him against whatever you bring.
Yep. Fantastic. So what have we got? Dan Wood said, Strategy Battle game is the best GW game. Best game GW makes. Don't come at me. This is true. I agree. Mama says, I stopped getting every codex in 7th. Just the codexes I have armies for. I'm on board for this. Aaron says, I am still confused. That's fair. Absolutely fair. And the Toolless Engineer says, I started collecting Tyranids in 8th edition. And they got ruined by rule creep very quickly in the last couple of editions. So looking forward to seeing how they go with the 10th edition. Yeah, fingers crossed the reset helps everybody.
I mean, they're gonna get a bunch of love. I mean, all the teaser videos we saw, it's all, you know, Ultramarines versus Tyranids. So I think you're gonna get a bunch of love there. Keith jumped on. Hey, what's up, Keith? And then Aaron said he's building Raven Guard for Kill Team, but he could expand it to 10th. I would say if he's been out of it since 5th, it is gonna look different. Like, I would say. So I was looking at data slates the other day with Ben.
Yep.
And the biggest thing for me is there's no weapon skill. Like, the stat line has looked the same.
Yep.
Forever.
I can't remember where I was. At some point I was reading something online. I think it was just before Adepticon, and somebody was talking about, like, wondering why the weapon, why some of the fighting stuff needed to be in with the warrior rather than with the weapon.
Yep.
And it was an interesting conversation, but then, of course, the 10th edition stuff starts coming out, and it was like, okay, yeah, the ballistic skill is linked to the weapon. It's like, so you tell them it's going to be interesting to see how comparable weapons. So, like, if a bolt pistol here is on a Marine and a bolt pistol is here on a, like, Imperial Guard commander or Imperial Guard sergeant, is it the same bolt pistol stats?
So I think that it's an aggregate stat. So to your point,
yep.
If I have an Imperial Guard sergeant,
yep,
who, like, not a named guy, just a sergeant,
yep,
who has a bolt pistol as an upgrade, and I have a Space Marine who has a bolt pistol, there's no way that they're both hitting on 3+.
Yeah.
Because one of them is a Space Marine,
sure,
and one of them is a guy.
They're both still bolt pistols, though, and the stats connected to the weapon now, so it's going to be interesting to see what.
They are, but the stat isn't connected to the weapon because there is no ballistic skill.
Well, sorry, the 2-hit roll.
it's your 2-hit roll.
Yeah.
So that's what a Space Marine needs to roll to hit with a bolter versus a Guardsman needs to roll to hit with a bolter. Because that's what I'm saying.
A ballistic skill by any other name would smell as sweet.
I mean, sure, but then, and like Ben was talking about this the other day, like the big one for the Terminators was they show, because again, there's no weapon skill, they show the Power Fist versus the Chain Fist.
Right.
And it used to be when you looked up a Terminator, like in current edition, you're like, oh, he has a power fist. Okay, what does that do? So I hit on my weapon skill is 4, so I hit on 3s, and then you have to look up special rules, and you go to the back in the special rules book, and it's like, okay, power fist has, this, it is unwieldy, so it swings last in initiative. Okay, cool. And then it's like chain fist. Okay, so I'm still a space marine, so I still hit on 3s, and then it's like, oh, chain fist has whatever it is, unbalanced or whatever the rule is, and you're like, oh, what is that? And you go to the special rules, and then it's like, this weapon hits at -1.
Yeah.
So it's like I have to go to 2 places to find that I need to subtract 1 from my roll, whereas now it's just right there.
Yeah, sure.
You hit on a 3 with a power fist, you hit on a 4 with a chain fist. I was like, cool, that makes sense.
Yep.
I didn't need to look anywhere for that.
Yeah. Excellent.
The one thing I really wish they would fix is I feel like Games Workshop has never been able to make a good like appendix or glossary ever.
Yep.
Like finding stuff is a nightmare.
Yep. Indexes is what they need. Indexes. Please, UW. Index. Freaking index.
Yep.
It's not hard. It's not hard at all.
Yeah, do it. I don't think they've ever had an index that works.
Okay. We're running late anyway because we had a lot of fun talking about changes to editions. So
it's a spicy subject.
Let's have a quick look through some of the cool models that folks have been posting in the group. First up, we have the Black Sun Enforcers army from for Star Wars Legion from Ben Williams, which looks super cool. Did a beautiful job on these. This is the like loads of purple and orange on there, but beautiful looking.
They look super rad.
Yep. Great stuff. Great stuff there. Beautiful work.
It's very 80s. That whole palette is very 80s.
Yep. Yeah. A little bit of like synthwave stuff going on. But next up we have some photos from Betsy Bowers. Betsy is an old friend of ours from Painting Happy Little Minis. It's been great to watch Betsy's painting develop over the last 4 years or so. 4 or 5 years. So she listened to last week's show, and remember when we were talking with Kit about gaming with his kids?
Yep.
Okay, so this is Betsy's table at the moment, her painting table. She has painted a whole bunch of the My Little Scythe models, which we'll come up in a second.
This is yeah. You jumped past. First, it was her Marvel United stuff.
Oh, that was on the painting table. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, these are great.
But yeah, fantastic work there, Betsy.
Those are super cool.
They look great. And so Josh there is, yay, Betsy, for sure. So definitely cool to see her here.
Those are awesome.
And the heroes from Stuffed Fables.
Yeah, those are some dynamite looking models.
Yeah. They look absolutely great. So Betsy's done an awesome job. She's got a few other things she posted in the Facebook group. If you are not a member of the Facebook group, check the link below. Come along and join us. And I should also use this opportunity to say, don't forget to subscribe, like, leave a comment, all that sort of.
Hit that little bell so you get alerts.
Yeah, that's an important one.
You gotta love the little elephant. He looks like he's carrying one of those new Space Marine. What are they called? The new Space Marines that have the rocket launchers.
Oh, the Devastation launches.
Yeah, it looks like Devastator. He looks like a Desolator. He looks like he's carrying a Desolator Marine's like rocket launcher. Yeah. I know he's not. I forget what he actually has, but it looks like
it's a mallet, like a meat tenderizer.
So it looks like he's carrying one of the missile tubes.
Yep. Next up, we have the Auric Mega Boss from Chris Gorka.
Yeah, he's very.
Oh, sorry. Say that again.
He is very yellow. I like that guy.
Yeah, he's great. But like in Chris's inimitable style, is very desaturated. That yellow is quite desaturated.
Yeah,
it's still got that brightness to it, but it's not super saturated yellow, and the blue plants on the base of that lovely pop.
Yeah, that base is awesome. Those little cactuses.
Yeah, they're definitely cool. They're from Gamer's Grass, I think. They have little.
I saw a guy paint this as his 40K war boss.
Yeah.
So basically, I think he swapped out his left hand and he's carrying like the big, the big 2-barrel like mega shooter thing.
Okay. Yep.
And then he painted his armor to look all orky. And then the shoulder skull, he painted it look like a Tyranid.
Oh, nice.
It's like a Tyranid skull. I was like, that looks great. Yeah, that model's awesome. It's he's chonky too. He is a big boy.
Definitely a big boy, without a doubt. Next up, we've got a piece from Chris Kemmig. Hopefully Chris is still in the chat. But there's a model he's working on for his Horus Heresy Imperial Fists. And I also want to include this one because it's mounted on a Game Envy hobby holder.
That's for you, Adam. That's for you, Adam. Or no, that's for your Kit. Sorry, that's for Kit.
Yep. So definitely cool. But yeah, coming along nicely. I think he said that the gloss on there is from the oil wash. So
yeah, which was still wet in this photo.
Right. Yep. There we go. Next up, okay, we have Dave Hummel. This is all of where his hobby is at the moment, or at least it was when he posted. Hopefully,
all the boxes.
Fun. Yeah. Hopefully you've got some furniture arriving soon, Dave, and you'll be able to start getting everything out again.
Oh, for anybody looking for cool storage stuff, so the case that we had at our booth at Adepticon is a new booth they have at IKEA. It's like $116. It is awesome.
Right.
Super easy to put together. Has 4 shelves or 5 shelves. It's really nice.
Cool. Next up, we have some Slaanesh models from, I think this is Mick Palazzi. I think. I'm trying to remember now. So we have this super cool Hellbrute. This is one of the Forge World.
Emperor's Children.
Pardon? Emperor's Children, yeah. It's one of the Forge World models, isn't it?
Yep.
Very nice. And he also... We posted a bunch of photos, so I only grabbed a couple of them. And he also painted up the blooded kill theme box to use as a... what do you call it? Cultist squad.
Yeah.
And that lovely pop of bright pink magenta on the bases from the Gamer's Grass sort of alien tufts.
Yeah, these are great. Yeah, the only things he doesn't have there is he doesn't have the Commissar or the Ogren.
Yeah. Next up, we have an awesome Cthulhu bus from Mike Hughes.
Oh yeah, if this is the one I think it is, this looks amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is awesome.
It is the one you think it is.
He has too many eyes. I don't like looking at him, but his colors are great.
It's always too many eyes. But yeah, beautiful work there, Mike. Looks great. I love the basing as well. That plinth.
Yeah,
Just,
the tentacles are cool. I like the way the tentacles, like, even the way he did the light on them, they look like they're all spiraling around. They look super cool.
Yep. Beautiful work there. Next up from Patrick Keith, he posted a spring cleaning photo. He posted a before and after of the spring clean of his build area. So this is where Patrick does his sculpting.
Ooh, so clean.
One cool thing that I hadn't noticed until this afternoon was over in the right-hand side there. There's his little sort of putty oven. So when he's been sculpting with his putty, he can. So it's like an old coffee can with a what do you call it? Just a halogen light
It's a drop
over the top. Yeah, he can just open a little door in that that he's cut in that coffee can and pop the sculptor mini inside, and that cures gets the putty curing a lot faster. So, but yeah, nice and clean there. Everybody can see my desk already. It's not clean. It's not going to be cleaned. It's always going to be like this. John Stein says it looks like the Tin Man's head. It does indeed.
Yeah.
Next up we have Ray, our friend Ray Rappaport, posted a new Gundam box, the Ecopla.
Yeah, this thing's
material.
pretty cool.
So apparently made from recycled plastic sprues and egg shells. So I'm super curious to find out what this is like.
He has it built. It looks pretty cool.
Yeah, excellent. Need to post it in the group, but yeah, did he say what the material kind of felt like?
He didn't, but I'm going to talk to him this week. I'm going to talk to him tomorrow. I'll have him put a photo of it built in the group so we can show it next week.
That'd be great. Yep, definitely cool. It looks awesome. Next up we have Scott Radham, who isn't in the chat tonight.
I haven't seen him.
But yeah, this is a goblin that he's been working on for a little while, from I think Blackstone Miniatures. I think he said.
The metal on the halberd is so awesome.
It does look super cool, doesn't it?
This goblin has done entirely too much coke, which is why his nose is all red.
Yes.
But that is a great model.
Yeah, it looks fantastic.
Like I feel like I would get tetanus just looking at that halberd.
Yeah. But yeah,
He's great.
you know, nice
He always
close
does a
up
great.
there.
He does such a great job with his greens.
Yeah. But no, beautiful work there from Scott. Absolutely awesome. And then we will round out tonight.
Such a well-maintained goatee on that guy.
Yeah. Yep. I think he does spend a lot of time doing that.
Yeah.
More
He's
time
like,
doing
"My
that
weapons
than cleaning his halberd.
Yeah. He's like, my weapons are super rusty, but I have to keep this goatee nicely trimmed. So.
I'm going to a competition next week.
He is great.
Excellent. And so to wrap up, I'm just going to show quickly two photos. One is, because I'm super excited about it, I got some photos sent through this morning from my friend Trevor from Armored Wolf up in Alaska. He's done a couple of dice bags for me. He does a lot of custom leather dice bags. You can get sort of any sort of theme on them if you want. But yeah, super cool. He's been working on this one for a little bit for me. It took him a little bit to find the camo leather.
Let's see it.
Okay, here it is. So it's coming through. It's for my my Tanith First and Only. Done a beautiful job on it. Black, like a blackish, deep brown sort of leather for the bottom section. Pardon me. Tooled and painted for the regimental badge on it.
Dude, that's awesome.
Yeah. Yep. It does look super cool. And that the camouflage leather for the top section of the bag is great. And he also created a couple of little dog tags off the side and stamped them all. And it's got like David Taylor on there. Or Dave Taylor, I think. Or D. Taylor, probably. Along with the regimental details.
Dude, that's awesome. I love the Tanith. They're one of my favorites. They're so much fun.
Yeah. Dan says, what's in the keg next to the bag? Nice. I bet you it's rum. Trevor's a bit of a pirate, so.
No, it needs to be, what is it? It's the stuff that Bragg makes.
Oh, Sakura?
Yeah, is it Sakura?
Yeah. It could be. I don't know. I'll have to check. But no, I'm super excited. That is now on its way to me. I'll hopefully have it in the next week or two.
That is super fantastic. I'm super jealous.
Super cool stuff. And the last photo, just wanted to show it because he went to the effort to take it and then to track me down via Jake. At
Adam.
Yeah, Uncle Adam, Adam Loper from Tabletop Minions at Adepticon. He'd set up a photo booth setup and was taking headshots of content creators and other folks. And I happened to walk past at one point, and he goes, "Hey, Dave, let me grab you, get your headshot." So he took one, and this was it. I'm not sure. Did he take your photo at all, Jake?
I'm in the video walkthrough that he did.
Okay.
I wasn't walking around when he had the booth set up. I was in the hall. So.
We need to get
That is a great photo.
Yeah, we need to get a headshot of the similar quality of you facing the other direction.
Oh, so we can do back to back.
Back to back, and then we can use that for we'll start to use that for season 3 thumbnails.
Sure.
So we can do the
totally
thumbnails
do
in
that.
advance, and we can put out let people know in advance what we're going to be doing.
I'm actually rocking the same T-shirt today.
I know, that's great. So this must have been taken on Thursday.
Okay.
I can tell that was the shirt I was wearing on Thursday at the event. But there we go. That's what we've got for this week. Thank you very much, everybody, for sticking with us through to 8:46 p.m. I think it was a good chat. It's always interesting to see what is going on. I know that initially I didn't want it to be about 10th edition. There are going to be plenty of other videos online about 10th edition and the changes and all that sort of stuff. But I think it's always interesting to find out how people react, regardless of what the system is, or see what the patterns are. What's the reason people react in a particular way? But no, definitely cool. Thank you everybody for participating in the chat. Next week, I'm not sure. Did you hear back from Brian and Alex?
Yeah, so they're fine with doing the. I think they agreed with you. They want to do the second. I think.
The one that's on the launch day.
Well, the day before.
Day before launch.
Yeah, because I think our Kickstarter goes live on the 3rd.
Oh, okay. Radio.
So yeah, so I think they wanted to do the second. So.
Radio. So what we might try and do then, I might see if we can get Eric Swinson on, which would be super cool. Hopefully we can do that. I know I talked about hopefully getting Vince on, but I contacted Vince again, and it seems we have a scheduling conflict, a perpetual Tuesday night scheduling conflict.
Okay.
So what we might try and do there is record an interview with Vince and run that as an extra episode kind of thing.
Ooh, yeah, we can take a week off and run a live episode where we're not here. This episode was previously recorded
in front of a live studio audience.
Oh, that'd be great.
But we'll see what we can do there. So yeah, maybe we'll get Eric Swinson, because at the end of next week, so the 21st, April 21st, is when the Kickstarter goes live for The Art of Volumes 7, 8, and 9. Nice. Volume 7 being Eric Swinson, so I think it would be great to have him on, chat about painting, chat about how he approaches it, and his incredible speed, and all the other cool things that he does in the painting community. Which is definitely cool.
Well,
we'll try that
again.
We'll see if we can do that.
Thank you everybody for being here. It's always more fun when we get to interact with you guys in the chat and answer questions and stuff. And yeah, it pulls us off topic from now and then, but it seems like that is part of the charm of the show. So I don't think anybody's really that upset about it. So.
This is true. Brian says a live show at next year's Adepticon.
We could. I mean, the only problem is because we're on Tuesday. Tuesday's the one day of the week that there is nothing at Adepticon.
Yep.
So even if we went out early, there's nothing to see.
Yep.
So
I don't know. Might have to be a special show, but we'll see. The biggest problem I would find is that I'd have to work out how everything worked over there. We could probably make it happen, but
yeah, we'll figure it out.
Yeah.
But
maybe we'll see. But awesome. Thank you very much, everybody. Let me just get the outro scene queued up.
Oh yeah. So as soon as you're queued up, we'll.
There we go. Yep. Absolutely good. So, once again, thanks for joining us. We will see you next week. And in the meantime, don't forget to build, paint, play.
Shut up and sit down. Shut up and sit down. Shut up and sit down.